Okay, there we go, recording. Can you see a thing that says recording, or do you have a little button somewhere that shows you that it's on? No?
Oh, yes, yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, good.
Top left.
All right, here we are. So this is it, Stepmom Success Lab, Module 1. I'm really happy that you're here. I hope I hope nobody's having trouble signing in, but I will try to keep my Facebook window open here so that I can see if any messages come. So I was just going to do, actually, we can do that. I was just going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started, so that you know how the Facebook group works, and I'll show you where everything is there, so you know how it goes. Now here I'm going to share my screen, like as if I were a technological wonder. Share screen. There we go. So that's the notes that I'm going to be going through with you. And here we go. So can you see this? It's a Facebook page.
I can see, yeah, Stepmom Success Lab.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
So, of course, just like every other group, you just type whatever you want to say. This is a super secret group, right? It only has 6 members. It's just the 6 participants and me. So nobody can see anything that you write here. And I'm going to ask all the members of this group to be extra private. I know that you will, but you know, we're really not going to share anything that we talk about here. So I would like everybody to, you know, feel extremely safe to be able to share whatever you want and know that it's not going anywhere. Here on the left side, under Files, if you click on Files, you will see that there are 3 documents here. So one of them is the notes that I sent out today, and you can access that again here if you lose it or you can't find the email with it or whatever. This one is the same list of books and resources that I have put into our Spectacular Stepmom group. Okay, so if I refer to a book, then it's here. I've really put all the books here that I ever talk about, so that if you want to follow something up, you can look here again and find the book that you're looking for. And this one is something that appeared on our Facebook group many months ago in Bits and Pieces. They were the kind of alternative, I call them avatars or personas or different hats you can wear as a stepmom. And I'm going to be referring to that tonight. So that's where you'll find the notes for all of that. And now, if I want to get back somewhere, then what do I do? Okay, stop sharing. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to keep an eye on the time because I have trouble to always get it in time. I always seem to run over longer than what I wanted to talk about. But I'm going to start, yeah, let me find the notes again here. Oh boy, okay, it's somewhere else. I have too many, here we go. Too many things showing. Is this gonna work? Share screen. Okay, perfect. There we go. I just have one more window to get rid of. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over the kind of introductory notes, but I really mean for this course to be just a game changer. And I hope I hope I'm not being arrogant when I say that, but I'm committed to making this a really valuable experience and to answering your questions. And if you don't find that I'm presenting something already that's a question that you have, please, you know, type your questions into the Facebook group so that I can answer them for you. Okay? um, everything here, this is a disclaimer. It's for educational purposes only. I'm not a professional psychologist or a psychotherapist. I'm not a family counselor, but I'm sharing my own experience and the fruits of research that I've done to try to understand why certain approaches work and why others don't, and how we can, take something that is common to all situations and then be able to apply it to individual situations to make it work everywhere. Okay, that's about the Facebook group. You already know about that. So the particular audience I'm speaking to here is women who are not bringing their own children into this relationship. And I know that many of you do have children. So of course, I expect that everybody can get something from this. I had my own child too. I'm a mom as well. And I was somebody's bio mom, I guess you could say, because my daughter had two stepmothers at one point, not at the same time, but she has had two stepmoms. So, I've been on that end of the equation. But I did not blend two families together under one roof. I didn't, my daughter was already moved out when my stepkids came onto the scene. So I have not personally lived through those challenges. I can, try to extrapolate and speak to what I think about that, but it's not my life experience. And I also didn't have an ours baby. We didn't, produce another child together. We do have a dog, but it's not the same. So, I think that both blending two families of kids together and, bringing a new baby into an established family are special circumstances. And you're welcome to message me for advice, but I want to say that, I understand that those parts of the dynamic are not familiar to me from my own experience. Okay, so I managed to nail down to 7. I think there are 7 essential elements, and I'm going to keep an eye on the clock here so that I don't keep you happening till midnight here. But I think that these things are present in every well-functioning blended family, however it looks in different households, okay? So I'm all about following nature. I have been for 20 years a natural health practitioner. That's where my professional training is. And so the idea of following nature is really close to my heart, and intellectually it makes a lot of sense to me. So you can't fight Mother Nature. You can't hold back a hurricane or a flood or forest fires. Obviously a volcano, we're seeing that's what's happening right now on the news, you just can't hold it back. You can just observe what's happening and try to work with it or stay out of the way in some way so that you can make the best situation for yourself with an understanding of what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. Okay, so, the more that you know about child development, about human psychology, the more tools you have in your own tool belt to get what you want. And as you'll see at the end, I think getting what you want is absolutely the name of the game. So needs always come before desires. Like your actual needs are going to trump desires or wishes or dreams every time. So, that's why we say if he's really hungry, he'll eat the carrots or whatever it is. If you're hungry, you will eat it. You won't hold out for something better. And you can see this pyramid. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is what this little pyramid represents. And so at the very bottom, this doesn't read very well right here. I thought I put a different picture on. Maybe I'm looking at an old, oh yeah, I have open a previous version of this document, but that's okay. So at the very bottom, the red bar is physiological needs. And those are like air and water and food and sleep. Probably, sex is in there too. But those are really the basic needs that come before everything. So you don't go and do workshops about relationships in a place where people are lined up for 3 hours to get bread that might not actually appear, right? Like they have other things on their mind. And you're not so worried about working on your self-esteem in a situation where the roof is just blown off your house or something. The needs are in a hierarchy like that. So assuming that food and water and shelter are provided for your stepkids, so that they're not really in some kind of actual drama of need. The next thing that comes are safety and security needs. And I just want to, excuse me, I'm just going to pop out of this screen for a second and just go back and make sure that nobody is trying to, oh, okay. Rochelle says the cable has been knocked out by severe storms. Okay, well, maybe she'll join up with us later on. So when you're a child, when we're talking about safety needs, all of your safety needs and your security is tied up in your parents. It's all about your parents. So, I would say that until you would be old enough to actually move out on your own and get a job in an apartment, that could be, let's say 16 or maybe 14. Some people do it as early as that. But, at 10 or 12, you're probably not actually out on your own. So all of your safety is tied up in your parents. So when a divorce happens, that is a tremendous rupture in the perceived safety net of the child. Okay, like their life security is really threatened. And as adults, we can say, well, that doesn't make any sense because both your parents are still there and whatever. But the truth is, you're not sure that either of your parents can actually make it on their own. And you don't know what it means for you that they're not together, and that either one of them could be unstable in some way. And that like half of your safety is gone no matter what, like wherever, if you're with mom, half of it is gone because dad is not there. And when you're with dad, half of your safety is gone because mom is not there. So I would like you to reflect just a little bit, to try to put yourself in the position of kids who are, who have experienced the breakup of their family. And you might have experienced this yourself, so you can reflect on your own experiences, but just jot down some things like what does it feel like to, the insecurity piece of being not too sure, what could happen to you, like what if, right? There's always a what if one of my parents decides to move, what's going to happen to me? I remember when I told our daughter, that we were getting separated. And of course, like, what a terrible moment. It was, it was awful. And it really took a long time for me to be able to do it. And it took even longer because her dad asked me not to tell her, like for months and months. He didn't want to tell her. And we finally sat her down and I told her the whole thing. And I said, we're not going to live in the same place anymore. You're going to stay and live here with me. And dad is going to get an apartment nearby. And you're going to visit him whenever you want, but at least every other weekend and as much as you want in between. And you're going to keep going to this school. And, and we both still love you. And I, she finally looked at me and she said, is that all? Like, I think we had sort of covered all the bases. Like, I think her biggest fear was that she didn't know where she was going to live afterwards. She's told me that now, that it would have been her biggest fear, to not know where she was going to live. So, you know, for us, a lot of things are obvious that the kids don't really get, and we don't understand what they're thinking. So the idea that you know, mom could move to be with, you know, closer to the rest of her family, and I would have to go with her, and then what would happen? Or maybe dad is going to move away, or dad could get married and move away, and then I won't ever see him anymore. You know, those are big concerns. So this leads directly into essential element number 2. Dad is the dude. It's all about dad. It's just all about dad. So is this picture in the way of there? Did I just move you on your screen or just on my screen?
Everything's fine on my end.
Okay. So like I said, kids who live between 2 households are really lacking a solid feeling of dad's presence in their lives. And, you know, they miss 100% of their dad when he's not there. And when he's with you, they are probably missing their mom the same way. So, you know, it's a constant state of missing somebody. And we kind of take for granted when our kids act up, or when they're, you know, being obnoxious or hard to control, or their emotions seem all over the place. It's easy for us to forget that these are kids who are constantly missing somebody important to them. And, you know, we think that they're just supposed to arrive at another household with their suitcase and unpack and go on as if nothing had happened. And it's really quite impossible. So when the kids arrive, their tank of dad is completely empty. And if we can do something to help that fill up as quickly as possible, then it's going to be easier to manage those transition times. So, you know, if you were an animal trainer, you would use food. I mean, that's what animal trainers do, right? They use a lot of food-based rewards to train animals. And your ability as a kid wrangler is to give them more of what they need most, which is more dad. And it's going to be a long time before you as a stepmom can represent a security figure for them. And I can tell you that as much as my stepkids like me and they enjoy spending time with me, I'm not dad. And I still can sense how much they crave one-on-one experiences with their dad, even, you know, many years in, and even at age 18 and 20 now. It's still a thing to spend time with dad. And I have a kind of radar out for that. And I try to respect that very much when I see that they're, you know, having a conversation together or hanging out together or whatever. I still now do my best to leave them alone. So, so here's the thing. What can you do to enhance the dad experience for your stepkids? How can you give them more dad or better connection with dad? You know, certainly you're probably doing something to give them a happier dad by being in his life. But yeah, reflect a little on this. Like Karen, is there something that you can think of that you do sort of purposefully to help your kids to get more of their dad?
Well, I work on Saturdays, so they kind of have no choice.
Yeah, that's great.
Hang out with dad all day.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really nice that they get to have that. I have always done a thing with all 3 of my stepkids, who, by the way, if you don't already know this, they lived here one at a time. And my big joke with my husband is that we were the serial parents of an only child, because we did it 4 times. And my daughter was here, and then his kids came one at a time. But breakfast is always his thing. And I would purposefully not come downstairs until the kids were out the door for school. I just made it be and it wasn't hard because I could totally find things to do upstairs. You know, first I would meditate or do my exercises or have a shower. Like, it wasn't hard to use that time, but I wanted them to know that that it's completely their time with Dad. And he loves to make breakfast. I mean, he does a hot breakfast every morning, so that's his thing anyway. But that they could talk about stuff without me being around. And not that I expect that they, you know, want to complain about me all the time, but it would be a reliable time when they would know that I wasn't going to just pop around the corner and interrupt their conversation. So, you know, I knew that every day was starting off with a dose of Dad. And that was something that worked really well in my house. I think that it got them ready for the day. It filled them up, you know, with Dad. And certainly in the early years when they were just coming here for weekend visits, I did a lot of things to give them more Dad. And I've talked about this in other places, but, you know, like, if you're cooking so that Dad can hang out with them more, whatever he's doing, like, you know, playing ball in the street or watching a movie with them or whatever it is, then that's a great thing. Or, you know, Dad might be making the meal and you are babysitting or whatever you want to call it, hanging out with the kids to make it possible for them to, you know, have a dinner that was cooked by Dad. So, any of those things are possible. Donna, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Awesome. I'm glad that you were here. I hope you're just late and not because you couldn't get on. Is it okay?
Just late.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. It's being recorded, so you'll have it all. Okay, so we're just talking about the Dad experience and giving Dad more, giving the kids as much of Dad as you can. And this is the thing that is going to make you be appreciated. Okay, like, so many stepmoms say, I do all these things, you know, I do so many things for them and I feel like they don't appreciate anything. And that's why I'm saying, you know, if you follow nature, what they're going to appreciate is you satisfying their needs. Okay, you making their biggest problems go away. So what you want to be doing is giving them Dad over and over and over again in as many different ways as you can. And sometimes, like Karen just said, that has to do with, you know, being not available and or getting out of the way, as I would do, or you know, working or having something else to do. Sometimes it's a good idea if you make plans to do something else so that you have to go away and they're just forced to be together. Or sometimes you can say, why don't you guys go and do that? You know, why don't you go to the restaurant without me? I have things to do here at home. You guys go and have a time by yourself. And it really, I think, gives you a lot of points with the kids if they see you giving them this time with Dad. Their default feeling is that you are in the way of being with their Dad, right? Like, it has to be that way. If Dad has a girlfriend, a wife, a partner, by definition, you are taking some of their Dad away. So everything that you can do to make Dad more available for them that's the thing that is going to make them appreciate you, and not anything that you do to connect with them on some other level. Okay, all the connection can be around Dad. You can find ways to bring him into everything that you do. If you're alone with the kids, you can be taking pictures of things you do to show Dad, or taking movies to show Dad. You can be collecting things outside to bring home for Dad. Whatever it is, if you're doing crafts or something, you can make it for Dad. I think it's great to bring Dad into every experience so that you are giving them a little piece of Dad even when he's not there.
Totally get that.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So in the notes here, you can make some notes for yourself, either write on here or in a, a little book. It doesn't matter, of course, but think about how you could give them more of dad or a better connection with dad. The third thing.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think in our household we have a really good balance. In our situation, I'm the person who goes out of the house to work, and my husband, he works from home, but he basically does builds new houses and renovates homes. So on the week we have the kids, he is Mr. Mom. He is Mr. Dad.
Awesome.
And we purposely do that. So he only works when the kids are at school, and he is available to them 100% when they're not in school. So we have that naturally. Should we maybe go do extra above and beyond, or?
Well, I mean, I think that's
amazing.
That's amazing if you can. Like, if that works for you, that's great. Everybody's situation, again, is a little bit different, but I think it's great that they have that opportunity for sure. And I'm going to get out of sharing here just for a second because Paige is here too. That's great. Hi, I hope you can hear me and everything is good. Paige, can you say hello? Oh, maybe she's muted. If you look on the bottom left part of your screen, if you put the mouse over to the bottom left part of the screen, there's a little mute my audio button, and you can unmute yourself. I hope that it's possible for you to do that. It doesn't look to me like you're muted, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that you could talk if you wanted to. There's also a chat box. Again, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see one of the icons says chat, and you can type something in there. So what I was going to say is that if you're running into a feeling that, that you're not sure if the kids are connecting well with you, or that you're not sure how they feel about you, or that they seem to be pulling away from you, then I think the answer is always to give them more dad. That just is going to work again every time. So that might be, you suggesting that, you're going to make the dinner, or you're going to wash the dishes, or you're going to go and do something else so that they can be with dad. Or you're going to do something for dad, that they see you, that what you're doing is purposefully helping out dad in some way. So, he might say, I have to run out to the store now that you're home, or something. And then you can say, okay, we'll hang out here and wait for you to come back. But, that it's always in the context of just understanding that dad is what they need. And as I was just saying, even at age 18 and 20, there's not enough. There's never enough dad. We were recently holidaying my husband was working there, but we all went along to have a holiday. And we had actually, we went to see it was a long story. We went to see my daughter she graduated. And we were walking home from the restaurant where we all went to celebrate. And all of a sudden, my parents were with us, and they're quite, older, and I was putting them in a taxi. And I said, well, I'll walk home with you guys, and we'll send my mom and dad in the taxi. And my stepdaughter said, no, we're walking by ourselves. And it really kind of took me by surprise. And, I wasn't insulted, but I was just surprised that it meant so much for her to go for a little walk alone with her dad, which is true because it doesn't really happen much. So, later on she said, oh, I hope I wasn't rude. And, but I was shocked, it just jumped out of her mouth. No, you're not coming with us. And I almost thought that they were going on some kind of secret mission that I wasn't supposed to know about, but it was nothing like that. She just got all excited when he said, you and I will walk home and we'll let them go in the taxi. And it was like something special for her. So I think we can't discount how important it is and how long that goes on in their lives. Let me share the screen again. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So no dissing BioMom. I think probably all of us who are watching here are fully aware of that, but I had to say it. This is an essential element of every family that works well. You cannot be saying unkind things or making fun, however ridiculous she is, and some of them are really ridiculous. Don't forget to be really careful that they don't overhear you talking about her when you think that they're asleep or out of earshot. It's just really important for the relationship that you develop with your stepkids that they don't hear you speaking ill of their mom. So no rolling your eyes, no making huffy noises. Watch out how you have her tagged in your phone contacts or whatever, because kids sometimes see those things. So it can still get complicated, especially, you know, now that my stepkids are older. I used to be the one who would pipe up and say, you can't say that about his mother. You know, when my husband would make some kind of comment about BioMom to his son. And I was always the one who said, you can't say that. That is his mother. You can't talk to him like that. And I really believe that that's true. And I think that it helped establish for my stepson that, you know, there was a boundary. And it also established that, I mean, he had heard her for years saying, you know, nasty, untrue things about me to him. So the idea that I would not go there and say bad things about her could only help him to establish a sense of my values and who I am. But, you know, there are lines and it gets hard. So like sometimes they're joking altogether about their mom with their dad. And you don't quite know how to react. It's kind of like I don't know if you've ever been in the position of having a close friend who's making a really offensive joke about something, and like, you sort of don't want to go there and say that wasn't funny, because like it's going to make a weird, you know, rift in your relationship or something, but you also don't want to laugh at like a really awful joke. So just remember, like, you know, you can poke fun at yourself about something, but it's not so nice when someone else would say the same thing to you that you just joked about yourself. So it's good to have a kind of a go-to response. If the kids or dad are making fun or saying something unkind to her. And I don't know if this is something that ever happens in your family. But I've just gotten used to how I have to react when that kind of happens. And I don't know what else to say about that, but I think it's important to have a phrase or something to say, well, you know, okay, you guys can say that, but I can't go there. Or, well, you know, that's your mom. I'm not going to say anything about her, or whatever it might be. But you need to be able to step back a little bit, because it's really easy to get into the communal laughing or poking fun or whatever, but it can totally come around to bite you in the ass one day if they, you know, remember that one time you were laughing at their mom, even if it was them who started the joke. So number 4, wear a different hat. This is something that I talked about many months ago on the Facebook group on the Spectacular Stepmom, that there are other ways to relate to your stepkids. So this is from kind of the bonding point of view, okay? But I say this all the time: human beings are not wired to have 2 mothers. we just don't have the inner wiring for that. And of course, I'm not making any reference to same-sex parents. That's another story. You know, and the same is true, by the way, if you have a bio mom who is completely encouraging the kids to love you and treat you like a mother, then yes, of course, if you're actively encouraged by your mom to accept another mother, then you can grow wiring for that. But it's not natural to us to have two mothers. We just don't. So if you insist on being another mother, it could take a really, really long time for you to create the kind of bond that you want to have. This is one of those, you know, you can be right or you can be happy moments. You have to go with what nature provides, what nature endows us with. So be someone else who can be loved, and it doesn't have to be a mother. So this is why I've, you know, outlined these different avatars or personas or different hats that you can wear to be someone else, or to feel like someone else with respect to your stepchild, so that they can love you in a different way. So these are them, the ones that I've outlined anyway. It doesn't mean that that's all that there is, but you can be like an auntie, like a favorite aunt. Then you might have had one when you were little. You know, somebody who spends time with you and maybe spoils you, and that you have a kind of a family relationship with, but who is not your mom. Of course not. I mix these all up, and it doesn't matter. There's a kind of order that they go in terms of how emotionally close you are to someone, but you can be a mentor. I think that's probably where I am at now, more or less, with my kids. My stepkids are older, and so it's a little bit easier to have a mentor role with teenagers and young adults. A camp counselor, especially if you are a young person, like let's say if you're under about 25 and you find yourself in a stepmom situation with your partner's kids, then it might be easy for you to relate to that kind of energy, like how you are with little campers that you're taking care of. A den mother is like somebody at a sleepaway school, you know, at a boarding school, that there's always a kind of somebody who lives in the dormitory with the kids and takes care of them, who is a motherly figure maybe, but certainly nobody would ever mistake somebody like that for their somebody trying to be their actual mom. And the mom next door, or your friend's mother, you know, remember what it was like when you had a friend that you would go and play at their house, and the mom might make you lunch or supper, or, you know, would certainly take care of you if you ever got hurt at their house. And you might also be able to envision this as taking care of the kids who belong to your friend. So if you have a girlfriend with kids that you take care of at one point, maybe because, you know, she has to go to work or go somewhere or whatever, you know, you can treat your stepkids the way you would treat the children of a friend, for instance. And there's also a fairy godmother, kind of somebody who always seems to be able to pull something out of a bag to make a problem go away. And I relate to that. That was kind of how I operated. And I also knew things about them. I intuited things that they needed or wanted, and I would make those things happen. So I have put that file in the group, and I demonstrated at the beginning of this video where to find the files in the Facebook group that is just for this course. So maybe you do some of these already, or maybe one or the other feels more comfortable to you already. Does anybody want to pipe in and say anything about this? Does this make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about? go ahead and say something if you like.
Yes, it does make sense. I've always said that, I kind of felt like, the auntie, like, I love you, I care about you, when you're in my home, I'm going to take care of you, but, I'm not here to make life decisions for you. I'm not going to, choose where you go to school or what medication you're on or take you, to the doctors. Like your mother is going to do that,
Yeah. Yeah, good. Anybody else? Okay, you don't have to say anything. That's totally fine. I'm going to share the screen again. And okay. So number 5, this one is really important, especially talking about, how to have a sense of being part of the family. So as I was saying before, there is no room for two mothers. You are not going to force your way into their energetic family bubble. That a family has its own energy, it's almost like a person. And I've studied a fair bit of what's called family constellation therapy, which is a completely fascinating whole world unto itself. But it's really true that families have their own energy. And it is really, really hard for you to make a place for you as another mother inside of an existing family, because it's just a weird thing. There isn't room for that. And if you think about it, it would be hard for you if, possibly one of you has had this experience that your parents separate, and, someday your dad is together with another woman, and she wants you to call her mom, and she wants to sort of do all the things that your mom does, and she's like pinching your cheeks or trying to brush your hair, or things that feel motherly for you, and you're just going to go like, who is this lady? She's nice enough, but honestly, like, I have a mother. I don't need another mother. One of the authors that I read made a joke, and she said, 99% of children surveyed on the playground said that one mother was enough or something. I mean, it's a joke, but so how can we get around this? By forming a new family. And it sounds like maybe a silly thing to say, or that it's so easy, but you are making a new family with your husband, with your partner, your significant other. You are a new family, and you are inviting those kids with open arms into your family. So the reason that this works as a concept, as a mindset, okay, because that's what we're talking about here. You're not really gonna like go to City Hall and make a license to have a new family. It's a mindset thing for you. It works because we're working with nature. We are wired to join another family. This is what happens when you get married. You join a new family, and your husband joins a new family. So we have thousands of years of history that this is a normal part of the human life cycle, that you get a life partner and you become a part of their family. So it doesn't feel like a foreign idea to have two families as much as it does to have two mothers. Does that make sense? I hope that makes some sense. Okay. So I learned so much about this from talking with other stepmoms. When I started this project, like back, almost a year ago, I interviewed every stepmother I know in the world. I mean, I interviewed about 20 women that I know, in person and online. And I got such amazing ideas from them about how they go about doing that. But it's about, it's about making new rituals together. It's about doing new things that only happen at your house. And it's about archiving those family moments and keeping them visible somewhere so that the kids can slowly integrate this idea that there's a new family image in front of them. So, sorry, I'm just looking for, oh, okay, no problem. So that the kids can see this family image in front of them, and it slowly starts to feel like it belongs to them. So one woman who just walked in, incredibly, she went from being a single woman to being the like 50-50 stepmom of 5. And there are 4 boys under 12 and a girl who's 15 or something. And so like they have this bedtime routine that they do where they get ready for bed, and then she asks them if they want a fist bump or a hug or a kick in the pants or something. I forget what it is, and then she chases them around and tries to catch them, and some of them want the hug and some want the fist bump or whatever. But it's like they have this little ritual, and some people say every Friday night when the kids come, that's pizza and movie night, and we, that's our thing. We do. It's going to be every Friday night when they arrive. We have pizza, and then we make popcorn and we watch a movie, and we unwind all together. One woman I know here in town where I live, she became a stepmom of 2 quite little kids a long time ago. They're all still together, but I guess the husband worked a lot of hours and she was alone with the kids, and they would go on car adventures, and they would like spin a needle to see which way they should drive, and then they would just drive off in that direction. And she said, we took pictures of all our adventures, and then I framed them and I put them on the wall going up the stairs, so that like at eye level for the kids, there were all these pictures of, going through the years eventually of all the adventures that they had been on. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay. That you're making these new experiences, and you're recording them and archiving them, so that it little by little starts to fill up the pieces that they need to make it feel like it's a family. Number 6, it takes a village. It's this ancient proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise a stepchild. It just does. And most of us don't have around us all the support that we need. I said this in my interview with Natalie on the Empowering Stepmoms Summit. The stepmom of today is a brand new person in society, in the social construct. This is a new thing. 40 years ago, there were not millions of women who were caring for someone else's children every other week or every other weekend. It didn't exist. People got divorced and the dad would pretty much go away. He might get to see the kids, but he certainly was not, there was no thing of shared custody. That shared custody thing really came into being in around 1979, I want to say. I think that was about when the first Shared Custody Act was passed. So before that, it was all, mom got the kids pretty much, unless mom was, a criminal or, so evidently couldn't care for them. So these stepmoms that we are, it's a brand new thing. It's absolutely new. And most of us don't know someone else who's in our position, which is really strange, because in any given school, probably half of the kids have a stepmom. But we don't connect with each other. We don't know each other. You don't stand in the playground and say, are you the part-time mom? I mean, it's awkward because we're not, the moms don't want to make friends necessarily with the stepmoms because you're not the real mom. Nobody knows quite, it's still like, whose side am I supposed to be on? Maybe I shouldn't make friends with this lady. We're not quite in a socially easy position to have the same kind of support that bio moms have as a rule. So we have to get better at that. We have to be purposeful about it. It's part of the amazing thing that Facebook is and social media, that we can reach out and meet lots of women who are sharing our life experiences that we would never know otherwise. but you do need to build your own tribe. Nobody does this on their own. I promise you, there are no successful stepmoms who are without their own village, whatever it might be. Okay, so there are a lot of stepmoms in our group and other groups who complain about their families not, stepping up, or the grandparents not maybe being all that they would hope for. But you have to look for friends who can help you. And I'm talking about help with looking after the kids, help with understanding your situation. So, help with getting a date night, maybe. Okay. Like a lot of people say it's out of the question. We can't afford a babysitter. Like, how are we going to go out? Well, you have friends. Maybe you can find neighbors in your community or in your building or wherever you are that have kids about the right age that you could put together with your kids. I totally did that. I made friends with people in my neighborhood so that when my husband's kids came here, they would have kids to play with. And when my stepson came here when he was 13, yes, we went out of our way to make friends with the parents of kids that he was hanging out with. Maybe you have a faith community. That is a great place to look for help, and not just for counseling, which is very often available, any kind of faith-based pastoral counseling, whatever it might be, but also, within the faith community, there might be other people that you can reach out to. And even BioMom can be an important ally, although it might seem impossible. But we're going to talk later on in the series about, dealing with BioMom. And I encourage you to stay open to the concept. Even, women who have written books about how they got together, got to be friendly with their BioMom and stepmom on either side. It wasn't great right away. They can say it was really not great at all for a couple of years until they, sort of were able to dissolve their differences and work together. So that can be an important thing. And please, going for counseling is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of your determination to beat the odds. The odds are hopelessly awful for what we're trying to do here. Like almost 3 out of 4 step families don't make it. It's terrible. And that's what motivates me to want to do this. I can't stand it that could be happening to so many women who could potentially be able to turn it around with just the right information and the right kind of support. I love this line from Sally Bjornson. She wrote a very funny book called The Single Girl's Guide to Marrying a Man, his kids, and his ex-wife. And she's hilarious. It's a very lighthearted book, but she says that going from being a single girl to a stepmother is like being dropped into a steaming jungle in high heels and a strappy dress without bug spray or a compass. It's really like, what the heck, you go from your single girl life into plop, into full, mom mode, mothering mode. And it's impossible, or practically impossible. And all couples need help from time to time. And Laurie Sims, who has created the Nacho Kids concept and website and Facebook group, she and her husband David, who are great. If you haven't seen any of their stuff, you should go over there and check it out because it's wonderful. But they got a lot of counseling before they got married, because she was marrying into a family of 4 boys under the age of 9 with her own 3-year-old. And they worked so hard to be ready before they got ready. And still, she says, after a year, they were ready to get divorced. Like, it was the end. They couldn't do it. And they went back for counseling. And that was where the Nacho Kids concept came from, because this counselor kept saying, Laurie, they're not your kids. Laurie, you have to relax about this. They're not your kids. And it was really, really hard for her. So, couples who are successful are being honest about saying they're successful, but it took a lot of, they got help. They got help. They didn't do it all by themselves. So make a list of people that you can reach out to for help, either working on your relationship or on yourself or with your stepkids. And here's the last thing. I think that if you're really talking about lasting this out, and this is a lifelong project that you're involved in. I know every moment of now seems like your whole reality, but we have to keep our eyes on the long picture. And this is one of those situations where they say you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. Every time you get on a plane, they tell you that again. But it's the truth. It's a truism of life that if you pass out for lack of oxygen, you're no good to anybody. So I want you to say, me first. Me first. And, go into the bathroom and close the door and just say that, me first. Because we are so conditioned to put other people first. And that usually means putting ourselves last. We're the last ones to get what we need at the end of the day. And, this is just a recipe for resentment and bitterness and burnout. And that's not what I want for you. I sure don't want it for myself either. And I have to do some things to put myself first. And I'll tell you, I am booking a holiday. I just booked a holiday. I'm so excited. I'm going to go with my daughter. I'm going to go to Europe. And putting myself first is the hardest issue. It really, really is. I get it, because it's not like me. And I thought we were all going to go on this holiday. It was my fondest wish to go with my husband and my 2 stepkids who live here. I often refer to 2. There are actually 3, but the third one is older and he lives on his own. And so he's not kind of part of my everyday family. But we were going to go with my husband and the 2 stepkids. I was dying to see them see some of Europe for the first time. And we have a friend that we could go and stay with there and be super easy. And anyway, it's all kind of falling apart because my husband doesn't want to go and the kids have other things that they have to do. And yeah. So it turned out that my daughter wanted to go, and she and I haven't traveled together for 15 years. So it's just going to be amazing. And I finally told my husband that I get it, if he doesn't want to go, I don't want to force him to go. I don't want him to have a crappy time. That wouldn't be nice. He's the kind of guy who, he hates traveling. He just hates everything about traveling. He doesn't want to wait in airports and sit in a cramped plane for 8 hours. I don't blame him, but he hates the traveling part. He doesn't want to live in somebody else's house. And I love all that stuff. So, I had to say, well, you know what? Like, this is something that absolutely lights me up inside. I have to do this for myself. And it's going to happen. And it'll be okay. So we just have to get better at putting ourselves first. And this is an idea that I've been working with more and more lately, but it's, again, I'm talking about nature. Everything passes through the filter of what's natural. And we only experience life through our own eyes and our own senses, our own physical sensations. It's all we have to be, all you have is yourself. You don't get to experience life as anybody else. It's natural that you move in the direction of what feels good and away from what feels bad. So we need to stay aware of integrating what feels good into our routine. And your own sense of self-worth has to come ahead of everything else, because this is the bedrock of how you're going to function. Being a stepmother is one of the most critically insecure things that a person can do in life. And And if it's something that's going to eat away at your self-worth, at your self-confidence, at your sense of yourself, there's going to be nothing left of you at the end. And all you have is you. So, you know, you have to hang on to what you need, and you have to be the best gatekeeper for yourself and the best boss of yourself. So the number one thing is, I encourage you to not tolerate disrespect. I know that a lot of stepmoms deal with situations that feel disrespectful, whether it's coming directly from the kids or whether it's about your husband not, you know, backing you up, not following you through, whatever it might be. But, you know, if you feel that you're being disrespected by your stepkids, you are not supposed to put up with that because you're afraid that if you say something, they're not going to like you. I mean, you have to discuss that with him, and he needs to have your back. That is that's got to be a foundation of a well-working family. If he's afraid of his kids, if he's afraid to tell them that this is not okay, that's not gonna, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna make a strong family that can stick together for those first 5 years, for 10 years, for 20, 30 years. You have a long time to live with these people. It has to be working, or it's not worth it. Like I said, you would never choose to be friends with someone who would allow another mutual friend to bully you. Like, that would be really weird. If you had a group of friends and one of them was like picking on you and being mean and rude, and your other friend was, like allowing that because they didn't feel right to say something, like, it would be a weird dynamic. So it's a very schoolyard kind of situation, and that's not going to make a satisfying partnership for you. So here are some words that your significant other can say if it happens in your family that your kids are disrespecting you. He can say, you don't have to like Tracy, Karen, whatever your name is. You don't have to like Tracy, but while you're in my house, you have to treat her with decency. I don't let anyone talk to my friends like that, and you wouldn't be a very good friend if you let people treat your friends that way. I won't let you talk to her that way here. And, I think that's safe. Or words to that effect, okay? You don't have to like her, but I can't let you treat her rudely. You have to be decent. You have to be polite, okay? It's important to take time to keep doing the things that you love to do before you became a stepmom, and not just be overwhelmed by the responsibility. I know this happens much more to women who find themselves suddenly a full-time stepmom, because it's just, it's just overwhelming. But really, carve out some time for yourself. Carve out time to read a book, pursue your hobby, whatever that might have been, get to the gym, go have a drink with the girls or coffee, set aside time you need to meditate for a few minutes, to write in a journal, do some yoga, go for a walk outside, breathe, okay? Like I said, there's only one you. Don't use it all up at once. We need to be much better at self-care. And I think that the self-care piece is really something that can be, even by itself, a game changer, because your mindset is about your self-esteem and about the kind of self-care that you do that allows you to have the resources to get over all the humps. I saw a post the other day that just made me almost cry. Someone posted in another group that said, what is your worst, blow up that you've ever had at your stepkids, or what's your most epic fail as a stepmom, or whatever. And the kind of the blow up that she had was so extraordinary, that included ruining a picture that the stepchild was drawing because she was so angry, and then apologizing to her afterwards, whatever. But those kind of things, that's what I'm talking about. That's a failure of self-care. When you get to the point that you're screaming, having a screaming fit, and and scribbling on top of a kid's drawing because you're so mad and calling them names or whatever, that's a failure of self-care. And I don't say a failure in that I mean that you should beat yourself up about it, but I mean, that's a time when you have to say, oh my gosh, like I need to look at what I can do for myself so that that doesn't happen to me, because that's not sustainable. Nobody wants to live with somebody who can, who's so stressed out that they blow up like a volcano. So think of things you can do in just 2 minutes to look after yourself. There are things. Have a drink of water. That would be a great thing, Go and like wash your face, brush your hair, just sit and watch your breathing for 2 minutes. Do a little bit of EFT. I'm gonna make an EFT video that I'm going to make available to you. I'll put it in the group so that you can learn to do some of that. And what if you have 10 minutes? 10 minutes is long enough to go outside and sit in the sunshine with a cup of tea. It's long enough, certainly, to do a nice EFT routine. It's plenty of time for a meditation. It's long enough to write in a journal. It could be long enough to do just a little bit of even exercise or something. Book something into your schedule once a week, or for an hour or an evening. I can tell you the true story, going back almost 20 years, at the moment when I was first separating from my first husband. I had a friend who came over to help me organize my schedule because I was working crazy hours. I was working every day of the week. I did many, many different things. I was a musician at that time of my life. I played in a symphony orchestra, and I taught violin. I had my own little orchestra. And I was doing homeopathy, which was that's the natural health practice that I've been doing. So I was studying a course for that. I was seeing clients. I was doing all these things. Like every minute of every day was full, and I was a single mother. And this woman came over and looked at my schedule that was just a disaster. And she said, okay, I want you to block out one evening a week when you don't work. And the first thing I thought was, that's impossible. I really believed that it was impossible. I didn't know how I was going to block off one evening a week when I didn't work. Looking back, it seems ridiculous. But at the time, I thought, I don't know if I can do that. And then she said, you're going to book off one weekend a month where you don't work. And then I thought, you're kidding. I can't. How can I do that? I can't. I'm not going to work at all for a weekend. So I've been there completely. I thought it was impossible. And when I think about it now, I can't believe that was me, but it was. I was so nose to the grindstone that I couldn't come up for air enough to see where there was room in my life to book off. When she took stickers and put them in my paper calendar so that I couldn't write on top of them. And she said, you are going to do this. You are not working on Thursday nights or whatever it was. You're not going to work then. And it took someone else saying, that's in your schedule. So I want to do that for you. I want you to, look at your schedule and book something in, whatever it is. You're going to go meet a girlfriend for coffee. You're going to take a yoga class. You're going to, I don't know, watch some, follow some course online that you want to do, that like this one. But book something in once a week that is just for you, that feels good. Okay. And also it does make a great opportunity to make yourself scarce. Karen already said that she works every Saturday so that, her husband has to be with his kids because that's just the way it is. But really, playing a little bit hard to get is great, both for dad and for the kids. It's good for them that you go away sometimes and that you're just not available. So that is the end of this, of the notes for today. And I would just like to ask if anybody has anything that they want to ask right now, please go ahead. Just pipe up. Or, you know, you can just think about it and get on the group during the week. But you're very welcome to ask me anything right now if you want. You can either unmute yourself or you can type it into the chat. But I'm all ears. I think you guys were kind of resonated with the issue of putting yourself first. So that will be really something good to work on. And maybe I can also, I'll drop some more ideas into the Facebook group of little ways that we can put ourselves first. But I think that it's important I think it's an important modeling for kids to see you doing that and saying, this is my time. And speaking of that, there's one really important concept that I learned from a website called handinhandparenting.org. And there's a book in the file. Yeah, great, Paige. She says she's going to try to implement that this week. I put, if you go back and watch the beginning of this video, I showed you where to find the files on the Facebook group. You can probably find them even without me showing you. Just look on the left-hand side and you'll see something that says files, and click there. In the books and resources, there's a book called Listen by Patty Wipfler, and she is the originator of hand-in-hand parenting. And one of her techniques is called special time. And it's a very special way of spending time between a parent and a child that is completely focused on what the child wants to do. And it involves setting out a certain number of minutes that you time with a timer, and the kid knows how long it's going to be. You announce that we have special time now for 5 minutes or for 30 minutes or whatever it's going to be. But it has to be a period of time that you can go without doing anything else. So no checking your phone, no stirring the supper, no multitasking. You're just completely focused on the child for 5 minutes or 10, doing only what they want. And they get to announce what they want. That's within the bounds of, safety, and, we're not going to buy a pony now or whatever, but, they get to say whatever they want to do with you, and you do it with them, and you give them your full attention. And this is a kind of a miracle of filling up a child's tank of attention. All kids need attention, like all the time, basically. But this really, really does so much to build up their self-esteem and their sense of connection with you. And connection is everything. So it's easy when you spend some special time with a child for them to understand now that this is your special time. You had your special time, and now this is my special time, and you need to go and do something else. And I'm going to go in my room and close the door for half an hour, and you guys are going to whatever, I'm not talking about little weak kids, leaving them alone or something, but it's easy for them to understand if they're getting some really good, when I say quality time, I mean real quality, like that you are doing you're only paying attention to them and interacting with them, and not being busy with any of the other kids, not getting anything else ready, not looking at your phone. You're just about them. It makes it easier, I think, for you to say, now this is my time, and I need that too. So I hope that you'll find some ways to do that for yourselves this week. And next week, I think we are talking about bonding and discipline and parenting issues. So that'll be something to talk about too. So please, feel free to put any questions into the group. If you ever have something to talk about that feels too sensitive, even to share with this small very private, confidential group, you're always welcome to personal message me. And I think that's it. We're going to wrap up if there isn't anything else. Okay. So thanks a lot for being here. And I'm going to see you next week at the same time. Okay. Bye.